What's going on, guys? Happy New Year. Welcome to another episode of the Progress Always podcast. Mike Andrews here with my man, James Stratman, founder of Peak Nutrition, Modern Warrior, and the Winter Warrior Foundation. I really appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Round two, baby. Let's do this thing. Let's get it.
Yes, this is round two. I caught you on the highway yesterday. You were somewhere in the middle of Texas, and we lost reception. So here we go. Where we recently reconnected over the last month or so, you gave me some wisdom that I really, really loved. And I want to share with the audience how profound it was for me. Because when we make significant decisions in our lives, it is often talked about in, the circles of gurus that if you can live with the worst case scenario of outcome of that decision, then there's really nothing stopping you from pulling the trigger. However, you take it one step further and you also consider, if I got all of the upside on the back end of this decision, is that enough intrinsic motivation to get me out of bed and to continue to do it? And that is something that I know for me is way overlooked and underappreciated in my decision-making matrix. And I'm genuinely curious, because we didn't get a chance to explore it in that initial conversation. Where and how did you come to that?
Yeah. So I had a business coach who, out of the couple things that he really helped me out with that was a big side of it. And I remember we were talking about you're passionate about things. Like, hey, if you are really passionate about what you do, you can do it for forever, whatever. But what he gave was a much more realistic approach, which is that it doesn't matter if you sell supplements, if you build houses, if you work in a steel yard. At the end of the day, if you're a CEO of a very big company, you're dealing with hiring, training, market analysis, you're talking about the same things as the other CEO. The widget you sell is just different.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things he was talking was if this was the success you wanted it to be, if it got to this level, here's your big goal that you want to achieve, and you got that, would that be actually what you're looking for? Because a lot of the people that he coaches and works with is I think you get this a lot, would get this, is you start off as a personal trainer, and then you grow your business, and then you got a couple coaches underneath you, and then you got to get a warehouse space, and then and it's before you know it, you're just a manager of people that do stuff. You're not even working in fitness at all. You know what I mean? You're worrying about location and square foot and taxes and this other stuff. And so it was a good perspective for me, because specifically the conversation we were having is I want to franchise my retail model. So it was is finding franchisees something that could keep you going, keep you really illuminated about this? Is this, that big scope of that? And that actually did take me a while to think about. And then what I did was also related that to my personal life as well. Is the analogy is you meet this really pretty girl. She's fucking hot. She's cool. But the dream is always really good. You want this, desire it. But then really think through it. If you really had her and you were settled down and, you know what I mean, you were monogamous and you had kids and you had the structure that comes along with that, is that what you really want? Or do you just want the shiny object, right? Is it shiny object syndrome? Or do you really want the process that comes along with it? And so that for me is a big part of thinking about it. Because I think, like what you said, if you can deal with hey, if it blows up, but that's kind of easy. Do you know what I mean? And I take it to what is the actual worst case scenario? I die. That's the actual worst case scenario. I do it and I die. I'm yeah, I'm okay with that. I live with that one. So that other side is just, it's a perspective that he gave me that I really liked a lot.
Yeah. Now on the with regards to your personal life, on the professional end, it's pretty black and white, and really the only person you're legitimately taking into consideration as to the impact of that worst and best case scenario is you, right? As the leader, the driver of that vision, that mission, the proverbial ship, if you will. But on the personal side, you are legitimately involving, in the example of a significant other, another person. So are you explicit with those expectations and that lens? Are you saying like, hey, I don't see us together if I got everything I wanted from this experience with you? Do you say that out loud, or is that something you just carry in the back of your mind and you're looking for those boxes to get checked along the way? How's that go for you?
I'm so awkward. I'm like full level autism spectrum when I'm having these conversations. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not, you know what? I would love to do this right now. I am going to pull up a text message right now. Hold on.
This is why I love you.
I had recently met, and she was just like, hey, James, I want you to stop what you're doing. I want you to meditate and think why I would not like being with you. Because I explained to her, like, I can't be more honest than this. This is a text from Friday. Like, we hit it off. We went to dinner. It was great. She's fucking so hot. Retarded hot. Should not be hanging out with me level hot. And, after I got to know her and got to know a lot about her and, like, realize what she wants and all these things, because I was just very sure. I was like, there is no way on planet Earth that you really want to be with me. You want to be with the Viking, right? That's like this thing, but like, the things that you're really looking for, which is like you have like strong. She's Latina, so she's strong Catholic values. Real oriented in that way, and like, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually appreciate and respect that a lot. But there would be no way with like the goals that I have to be able to provide like that thing for her. And so, like, what I do is I don't say I don't want to be with you. What I say is like, this is what my life will look like. Do you know what I mean? On a very real, like, edged surface. And like, if that is what you're looking for, let's jump on this fucking thing. But I don't think that that's exactly what you're looking for. But I let them, tell me, and I had a conversation with her, and it's like, I'm not saying exactly what my future and whatever is going to look like, but I do know there are certain things that it just like like time wise, energy, very difficult for me to transfer my life to where, like, I got Sundays to just hang out and go to church with you and sit around and clean the house. Like, it's Sunday today. I did a podcast this morning. I shot other videos. I'm actually at the store training with my team right now. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to provide that thing that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you're approaching that conversation from a place of introspection. Like, these are all the things about me, the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of me, you're not going out of your way to sabotage a relationship and find fault with her. Right. No. Which I think is super commendable. Because
I always say this, every girl is great and I am a terrorist. But every once in a while, you'll find a country that'll harbor a terrorist. Like, that's all it is. That's the whole story. Like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just waiting for the country of Yemen to find me so I can hide out there. That's it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, my wife and I talk about this quite often with regards to how you become great at anything. The Jordans, the Armstrongs, the, insert presidential candidate here, the aspiration to do something of that magnitude, to be the one of one in whatever it is that you're doing, is an extremely selfish endeavor. And for somebody to come in and hitch their wagon to you needs to understand, or not even understand, accept the reality of that situation. Because what makes you tick you, James, what makes me tick, me, Mycal, is understood by very few. And like we talked about at coffee a couple of weeks ago, when you and I sit down, you see me and I see you.
Totally.
And it makes for such an amazing exchange, but also that acceptance, that seeing is not normal.
You know what? This is so weird that you bring this up. I was having this conversation, and it was with this girl. It was a group of friends who were sitting together, and we were having like the political talk. Like, I don't know how else to talk. The whole table's having like the political talk, and she was talking about like how different like races have like if there's one person who's like Latino and another Latino, like even if they don't know each other, they can see each other and have like some kind of shared experience stuff, whatever. And like, I do get that. I guess I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But like, to me, I think that part of that is kind of like, it's not dumb. It's just like, it's a little naive. Like, yes. Is there something about like being a black dude and there's one other black dude at the table and you're like, hey, we're boys because, we got this or whatever. Sure. But that's not nearly the fucking same as like, you were in the military, right? There is a level of like, you meet somebody else that was in the same branch as you, and you have an actual fucking connection with them.
Right.
Like, there is a thing about being an entrepreneur, right? A real entrepreneur, not a fucking internet entrepreneur. I do business. I have employees. I have a vision, that kind of thing. We make money, that kind of thing. Where like, I actually do, like, you'll talk about stuff and like, I will know what you're talking about immediately because I'm like, oh, I've fucking been there. Like, I know what you're talking about. We had a conversation where you were talking about not taking on these huge, huge, big things because it's like you've already achieved so much. And it's like, I just, when you were saying it, I knew exactly what you meant. You didn't mean not pushing forward and not doing new, creative, good things. What you meant is taking on these huge, monumentous, like, it alters your life. I now have to schedule things differently. My existence and my time with my wife and kids is different. And most people don't understand that because it's like they think of like getting a promotion at a job, which is awesome. There's not any deterring that. But there's a difference from being like, I'm going to start this new company. Or I'm going to interface this new thing. That is like, it changes your life. It's like becoming a different religion. Like, it's like everything fucking changes. And so when you're saying, I was like, he's right. There is some shit that like, yeah, I don't want to take on. There's some things where I'm like, that's not the pool I want to swim in. And it's hard. Only you and I could understand each other and relate to that because we have similar experiences. Right. And so I know it's a weird long conversation, but it's just because I literally had that talk. Like, I'm not joking. I think a week ago. Yeah. Where I think that what you do connects you to other people so much more deeply because it's irregardless of like, I could talk to a Jewish Filipino girl who was an entrepreneur and we could just fucking bing, like super connect about it.
Yeah. Because there's a level of the game that is solely based on your willingness to put yourself through it. Right. And that, I think for me, that's where that's the level, the frequency that we operate at. And what I see in you is your willingness to put yourself in these uncomfortable situations that look like, scouting new properties and opening new stores and beefing up your staff and You're choosing that friction for yourself as opposed to, and what makes the conversation different for you and I and the circles that we run in, all of that is of our choosing, as opposed to the narrative that is like nails on the chalkboard that is everything is happening to me. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock. That's less a knock against a comparison of entrepreneur versus employee, and more so like the lens and the perception with which you walk through life.
Yeah.
You know, are
I,
you are you are you walking with choice and accountability and self accountability, or are you blaming your circumstance on everything and everyone else?
I'm going to get the quote wrong, but there's some, it was a quote. It's like, everybody has to eat shit. Certain people just choose which shit they're going to eat. And
Mhm.
like, you know, it really is applicable to like everything. Like, if you don't go to the gym and eat healthy and do all those things, which are tough, like there's other stuff that sucks. Like, do you know what I mean? Like being immobile or being overweight or, you know, whatever it is. Like, no matter what shit sucks, just which suck are you going to pick? And there is a certain level of, the game that's like, like all of the stress of being an entrepreneur and trying to grow it yourself and do all that stuff is like, yeah, but I also change it. So, you know what I mean? It's like being into BDSM. I guess I just like, you know, fucking weird rope play and somebody slapping me and shit, but I'm choosing to do it. So it's a little.
And you know that's where, you know, a lot of what we teach at Next Level, you know, with regards to intentional adversity really comes into play, because when, you know, to your point about putting yourself through something physically rigorous like your training regimen, or you know, going rim to rim, that's a conversation I'm having with a couple of people right now. Or, you know, I had a client that just got back from doing Kilimanjaro. Yeah, dude, why not?
You're gonna go rim
rim to rim to rim. I'm gonna go down, up, and come back.
I don't want to say I couldn't do it, because I think, of course, with the right training and the kind of stuff I do, but there's just so many hours in that. It's not that I think the physical part is easy, but it's like, I can train for the physicality of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know somebody who did that once, and like, you can't come out of that unscathed. Like,
you know what I love? You know what I love about it?
Uh,
I'm so happy that this amazes you, because I so rarely get to tell people, like, I love this shit because it is the rare instance that I get to experience that much time alone in my own head.
yeah.
And you literally, and to your point, it's not it's not the physical part.
Yeah.
Right. To your point, it's the hours.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you go with somebody, like I got a crew that I've done the Salcantay trek into Machu Picchu with, that I've done Kilimanjaro with. I got a new crazy buddy that I'm going to do this rim to rim experience with. And even when you go with someone, you can only talk about the superficial shit for so long before you run out. And you run out way sooner than you think you will. And then all of a sudden, now you get to talk about real shit. You know,
dude, I just got, this is not at all the same, but you know, you were just at the beginning of this that I drove from Florida.
Yes, the exact same thing. Yes.
And the first 12 hours of the drive, I'm like listening to audio books. I'm fucking, you know, get some music going. I'm fucking jamming, baby. And then like the next 12 hours, I was like, all right, you know, and I started making some phone calls. And then I also just turned the music and audiobooks off and just started like staring and thinking. 12 hours of talking to yourself is a little weird. But the last 10 hours, like before I got home, I was talking to an ex-girlfriend of mine from years ago about trauma I didn't know I had and how it like affects me at work. Like it got fucking deep at about hour 27, where I'm like thinking through this shit that's deep in here and how like, oh my God, like honestly, I was on the phone last night at like 11 p.m. before getting into my place. And I was talking to her and I started laughing and being like, I think I have cabin fever right now. And I'm like half hysterical. And I'm saying shit that like, I don't even know if this is true. I think it is. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? It was similar, not same, similar.
No, but yes, very, very much so. You just remove the the physical exertion part, and you're just miles and miles down the road. It's the same level of catharsis though, because what we're talking about is literally just putting one foot in front of the other. There's nothing about that is overly complicated or arduous by any means, right? Does it get long? Do things get fatigued? For sure. But the same mental magicianry is happening when you're on a long drive by yourself in silence. Like, you can only listen to so much music. You can only process so many audiobooks before you, like, that's all superficial. And then all of a sudden you turn it off and hours go by before you realize, holy shit, I've been riding in silence for a really long time. And you're allowing things that are in the deep recesses or over here in the periphery, in these blind spots that we all have, to finally present themselves front and center. And now you have an opportunity. There's such a gift in that experience that you get to stare it in the face and just not even solve a problem, not even deal with the trauma. Like, no resolution need be found necessarily, but you get to explore these parts of yourself. And to me, that is the shit that terrifies people.
Yeah.
And it's the part of these experiences that I look forward to, because when it happens, we talked about psychedelics on your show last week. When it happens, it's always a surprise. And not only the when, but the what is like, oh, you're talking to an ex-girlfriend about trauma that you didn't know that you had or whatever. And it's just like, where did that come from? What is that all about?
Yeah, I know. You know what? Okay, so what I was going to say was, when people talk about going from like rim to rim, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The immediate thought in my head, and I'm gonna say something and then I'm gonna backtrack it real quick, but is like, to me, my initial reaction is that juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? Like, it's like, I see the value, I get it, like, it's kind of an internal thing, right? I accomplished this thing, done or whatever.
Yep.
But like, I would rather spend hours and hours and hours and hours like hiring and training people and fucking creating marketing stuff and do you know what I'm saying? Because there's juice at the end of that squeeze.
Sure.
Now, I do see what you're saying is that, like, this is just a different juice, right? It's like the stuff that you're getting out of that long by yourself time is real internal and reflective, and you are just much more that way. You are, the word isn't like emotional, it's like I think that the correct is like attunement or something like that, is like attune with yourself and like what's going on. I just push any of my bullshit, I just like push to the side, which is, do you know what I mean? You are a look at it, reflect it, eat it, taste it, smell it, figure it out. I'm just like, ugh. And I want to fucking get back and get making stuff. And so that's why I do look at things like that. And I'm like, I do think it's cool, but it's, the other thing is, like, I got a lot of buddies that are into like mixed martial arts or BJJ and like stuff like that. And like, I've done it with them and I like it. I do while I'm doing it. I'm like, I like it. But for physical activity, it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze for me. And I know I could be seeing it wrong, but it's like, I can go and lift weights. Like, I aesthetically look better. That's all I want. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I'm kind of, but doing this other stuff is like, it's just a different juice they're trying to get out of it. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going after that juice. You know what I mean?
So here's the question I have for you then, because there's a level, and we'll just keep this masculine, but I think it applies to humanity as well. But from a masculine perspective, from the ethos of being a man, right? There's something to be said for proving something to not to the world, not from an ego perspective, but proving something to yourself, having overcome something, right? And to your, you said it earlier when we kicked this thing off about choosing your hard. I think as I know you, as I experience James from the outside looking in, you just choose different hard because you are one of the more enlightened people that I know. You are very much in tune with who you are, what you desire, what fits and what doesn't. You definitely you are definitely a step ahead of most in all of those categories. And I think that there's parts of your journey that have present themselves as your chosen variation of hard. So you don't need the validation of mano a mano with another person and proving your bravado in that respect. And at the same time, there's nothing about a long walk in no man's land that will provide you the same level of introspection that you're already choosing your way into. Yeah. So from that lens, what is the hard that you choose?
I think that we talked about this one time when we were sitting in a coffee shop or whatever, but this just stuck with me forever. It's probably not right. I don't give a shit. I just love the way that it rolls off my tongue. It's like this other business owner, actually really fucking successful, probably one of the wealthiest people I've ever met. He told me about how again, I think you did this too. It's like we say men, but I think we mean all people. But it's like I guess it kind of happens to be men a lot. It's like the go-getter or alpha type dude who's just out, whatever, is like they do things for one of three reasons: God, gold, or glory. And so it's either this kind of like religious, spiritual thing. I don't know. Think of everything from I don't know. The Roman Empire taking over the world is like, they had God on their side, and that's what they were doing it for. And then you have gold, which is like, money, like you wanting to like own things and physically be able to like amass wealth and stuff like that. And the other one is glory, which is just like the to say you did it. Do you know what I mean? It's like the ego driven.
Yep.
And like I am so far on that glory side. Like it's just ego. It's just an ego. I think sometimes like when I say it, it's like I'm saying it, with a little bit of a wink and a smile to it. I'm like joking.
Oh no, I get it.
But it's like, I want to create. I have this very large vision of like what I want to accomplish and what I want to do, and like. Yeah, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I want to create jobs. I want to do this cool stuff, whatever. But like a large part of it, I just want to be like, fuck yeah. Like that's it. It's it. That's it. Because like I want to do stuff that very few other people can do or accomplish. And like that's, I think that like whatever your, like there's no amount of money that could make me, or no Ferrari or no like house or no thing that could make me feel as good as like sometimes I get those messages, you know what I mean? That like people being like, dude, you're fucking so badass. Like that's the only reason you buy a Ferrari or something is so people think you're cool. I would rather like cut that part out and just people think I'm actually cool because I did really cool shit. And like that is the admiration. I've thought so much about this stupid thing. This is like your love languages or whatever. Like words of affirmation. I just want the girl to be like, "You're amazing." That's it. That's all I want. Like I just want that. Like I fucking did it, right? And not superficial, not admiration. Like actually, like I accomplished this thing. Not many other people can do it. I achieved this. That's what I want. It's like a big deal for me.
And so that being said, I've been out and about in this town a lot over the years. Entrepreneur group here, networking thing there, whatever. I never see you at these things.
Never.
And I'm curious. Obviously, there's no right and wrong, and you're plenty successful on your own without any of that shit. Why do you choose again? Because I think that this is where your level of alignment and from introspection actually comes in, because you are, in my eyes, one of the embodiments of what it is to be a lone wolf. You are beyond comfortable being by yourself.
Mm.
And so where does that come from for you?
Well, it's kind of like two things. Is like, I want to be very. Is like a lot of it just is stupid. Like, it's not like cool to be a fucking lone wolf and do. That is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're gonna accomplish so much more with a good group of people and a solid team, and that's inarguable, right? Most of
Mm-hmm.
this is actually from a place of stupidity, is what it is, and it's that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
But there is, I will say that the one side about it that I do believe this a little bit is like, I originally went to that group that was like the EO, like entrepreneur,
Yeah.
um, entrepreneurs organization or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that was.
Yep.
It's like the biggest one,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the people there is like what they're doing. I don't yuck anybody else's yum. Like, I'm happy for you, and that's awesome. But like, you guys don't have the same goals I do. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
not, they're just like, I remember first they were like, oh, you have to go into this. I don't want to say any of this wrong because I do think the group was great, and I think they were great people. But they were like, oh, there's like this entry level one. It's like, beginner entrepreneur
Yep.
organization. And it was like, well, I applied for it because they told me that's the one I had to do. And then they were like, oh, you can't join this because you do over 1.5 million in revenue a year. And I was like, okay, all right, whatever. Well, I'll apply for the big one, but it's a big group thing. And they were like, oh, you can join this group and you can do this. And blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. And when I went in there, it was like a lot of the people in there had joined the smaller one and like graduated to this bigger one, but they were still doing from like 500 to $1 million in revenue, which is, again, it's not bad because most of them are like solo entrepreneurs.
Yep.
They like own their own, like just them marketing agency, or they are a real estate agent, or they are a gym owner or something, right? And again, like, it's not shit talking. It's just, it's very different because most of those things are, and the truth is, most of those people fucking make more money than I do. So this is not a dick swinging contest. If you sell a product that is a service, and this is no matter what, when you begin, you get to make a lot more money. It's just the name of the game, right? If you're selling your time and your information and things like that, well, there's a larger gap of profit because you don't have a product to sell. There is not a physical like cost of goods sold. You may have rent on the building, but what you're doing is your time or whatever. And so a lot of people do that, and which is great. Service businesses are great. Like, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to make money, do a service fucking business. What the thought process I had going into all of this was like, I want to create something, build something that, like, if I got shot in the head and died, it would still grow because it's its own thing. And that's what, like, so when I created the retail stores, I don't work in the retail stores. Like, I of course did to start, do you know what I mean? But I make systems so that way other people can have jobs inside of it and we sell a product. And then I created, because I saw what that was. And then it's like, well, that's not good enough because it's not my product. So then I created my own product and my product. And that's like, anybody who knows this, like, if you get into manufacturing or making your own things or whatever, it is a harder game at the beginning than doing a service business. It, like, no matter what, you can read all about this, is it's just more difficult because nobody knows your product, nobody trusts it, whatever. And I'm not selling me, I'm selling a physical thing. And so then, but what happens is over time you build brand and you build those things. And so if I continue this, it's going to take me a longer time. But when I do, it's something that it doesn't go away, right? Like, if you're a lawyer and you stop lawyering, there's no more money. If I build a franchise system of retail stores and my own supplement brand that goes for however long I hire that, the CMO and the CFO and the whatever that are running it. And so it's like, it's just a different game. And so when I went in there and I met with those people, yeah, to circle back, is like they were just after a much different thing than I was. And so I feel like it was very valuable to me. And so I had to kind of seek out other people who had created large brands and stuff like that and sold physical products.
Yeah. So it's
long enough answer.
That was awesome, man. It explains a lot as far as I'm concerned. I understand you at a deeper level because of it. But what, to condense what you just said, I think that there's definitely something to be said for the alignment of your tribe. Like you said, there's the conversation that we get to have as entrepreneurs, but then there's a deeper level of understanding because we're both in and around the fitness space, right? And then we're both deeply invested in our people. So we have a deeper level of conversation understanding, right? It's like, you made the military analogy. Yeah, we all served and we went to Afghanistan, but if you were in the Air Force, you had a totally different experience than the Marine Corps. But if I meet another Marine, hey, I know what you did.
You got fucking connection.
We slept in the same dirt kind of shit. Yep. You know what I mean?
And that is a great analogy. It's like, yes, I think with other military people, you're like, oh, there's a connection. I get that. You meet an Army guy, whatever. But like you said, Marines, very close to it. And so, there's a guy who, and again, wow, name dropping podcast, but Andy Frisilla is the guy who really helped me out a lot when I got started. And what he did was, the same thing is he built his personal brand later, and the company was already a physical standing asset. And it takes a lot of capital investment, takes a lot of fucking work, a lot of time, R&D, and all that shit. And so I wanted to meet and learn other people who have done things like that.
Yeah.
And have scaled and grown those things. Because it's just a different game. It's like meeting another Marine. It's just different.
Right. So, how is now that you're up and running at the level that you're at, how is your relationship with Andy? Or do you guys stand in the same room as peers, or do you still seek his wisdom? Like, how is that relationship manifested as you've grown Peak?
Truthfully, he really is at another level. Like, he's got, I think, 10 years on me. But what a lot of people get, because you hear his podcast and stuff, whatever, but I don't think people realize how smart he really is. He is really fucking smart. We will sometimes DM back and forth, but what's funny is at this point, he's so successful and has so much going on. The only time I see him is once a year. We go to Summer Smash and I'll see him and hey, dude, how you been? And we'll talk and chat and bullshit for a little bit. Yep. A couple of months ago, we were DMing back and forth, but it was political stuff or stuff about chicks or things like that. If he wants to talk to me, he's not going to talk to me about business. He talks about business all fucking day long.
Right.
He's going to talk to me. We're arguing something about politics or whatever. It's it's just, it's a little different. But that's awesome. He's like an idol in that space to me. The other one, I have a couple of idols, but there are some people who have just created really, really cool shit that in the last year I've started trying to mimic and stuff what they do.
Yeah.
But I do want to actually get in more networks and groups of entrepreneurs and stuff. Maybe I'll start. Maybe doing it. Maybe this podcast will get me to go do it.
There you go. You just made the declaration.
Yeah.
The who else is on that list?
Okay. This one's gonna sound real crazy, but obviously Elon Musk is an idol of mine. So I went to school to study physics. So that was actually what I went to college for. And it's like, and he is technically he comes from an engineering background, but engineering and physics are like this close, right? It's like biology and molecular biology. It's like, yeah, it's different, similar kind of. So he applies first principles to like all of his businesses, and that's something that I did not do.
For people who don't know what first principles are.
Yeah, it's like it's just physics. Like there is actual underlying physics to everything that the way that things work on a macro perspective. So it's like if you think about why are carbohydrates like bread, why is that cheaper than meat? Like intuitively, we all kind of get it. It's like, meat's just more expensive or whatever. But it's like, no, there is a exact explanation why. The sun cooks the earth, and that energy creates primary energy. Primary energy is plants. Like the sun cooks the soil, gives it energy, it takes nutrients, and it makes plants. Okay, that's what wheat and bread and that shit is.
Right.
Animal, a cow, eats the plants. It's a secondary energy source. So quite literally, that energy source has to eat thousands of times more of its weight of that primary energy source. So it is just, if you think about that definition, it's always going to be way, way, way more expensive because one of its inputs to get it is the first one.
Yes.
So it's like, that is what first principles means, is there are literal physical laws that the universe plays within that sets the accordance of how how everything else works. It's like, even as human beings, people get this too. This is a big one I go down for a while. It's like our emotions are also based off of physical limitations. So let's say like you are guarded, right? And you are resistant to things. This also follows laws of physics. Like you opening up and giving time to someone and energy to someone is a resource. Like quite literally, you have to consume calories and then you have only X number of calories and time that you can disperse to the universe, like as a physical law. And so with certain, what we do is we measure people based off of like, if I put my finite resources into this person, will I see a positive return on my investment? Now, your mind is not thinking through that calculation, but through the long term of the evolutionary process, that system became a part of the way that our brains work. Because if you just went around open, vulnerable to everyone and shared your resources with everyone, you would die, and then you would not get the ability to procreate. So even our like sociology, the way we interact and talk and belong with other people, are all based off of physics. And that's not because it's just that. It's like, if you think about science, it's like the base is mathematics. Mathematics is how we apply physics. Physics is how chemistry, combines with each other. It's how different atoms actually like connect with each other, and you have chemistry. And then chemistry creates biology, and then biology is the subsequent precursor of blah, 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 what everything else, right? So it's like everything has to follow physics. There's no way out of it, right? Like there's just no way. And so that's what I have this conversation a lot, is people that talk about like emotion and spirituality and all of those things. I never want to take that from you. It's good. It's great. Whatever. but it can't actually violate the laws of physics. Like otherwise it wouldn't exist. Nothing can violate physics. And so, again, why someone like Elon Musk, it seems like everything he touches, he makes $1 trillion car company. Well, it's because other people are thinking about selling cars and he's thinking about energy disbursement. Whether or not you like or don't like electric cars is kind of your own opinion. But think about having to get gasoline to a car, you have to take physical stuff, gas, oil, and move it from place A to B. And so it increased in cost to do that. With his cars, you don't have that. You're transferring electricity, which has no weight. And so there are these fundamental laws of physics that he just gets, he knows so well that when he does things, it seems like it's always more efficient and more effective. And a good analogy, which have you ever seen, what's the movie about the baseball team, the A's, the Oakland A's?
Oh, Moneyball.
Moneyball.
Yep.
Forever, scouts were looking at people and like, well, I don't know. He's a lefty and he's got a girlfriend back home, so I don't know if he's going to be a rugged player. Then somebody came in with math and was like, hey, if you field this much at this time and this is the probability of what you're going to get here, and then they picked players off of that, they did better because statisticians work, mathematics work, probability works, physics works, and it'll always win out. It's just harder to understand.
Gotcha. So you got Andy, you got Elon. Who else?
Another big one, and sometimes I say these and it sounds bad because we're in this political world now where people get shifty about stuff. But if you look at Bill Gates from just a entrepreneur point of view, he might be one of the greatest of all times. Just an insane level of understanding, the product he created, how he sold it, how he integrated, the computer with Word documents and Windows. It didn't even exist before him. Do you know what I mean? Somebody who, Andrew Carnegie, who creating the railroad system. Well, there were still wagons. We were still moving stuff around before then. He just made it more efficient. This guy literally made shit up out of nowhere and solved problems for people all over the world. And then it's really hard to be a product developer, like a nerd. He's a nerd. He's a tech guru, but also at the same time, a management expert. It's hard to be a people person and a systems person, right? Those are usually you're good at sales and marketing. You're not good at finance and operations. It's kind of I'm not good at both. But he somehow he just had a brain to be able to fucking do both of them. I don't know. Yeah, very inspirational, those guys.
So when you're modeling your trajectory, when people talk about their idols, what that says to me is that from my perspective, they are proof of what's possible. They make your big idea not so big anymore.
Totally.
Right?
The idea is very small comparatively.
But you and I talked about that, right? Part of the reason that you and I continue to orbit each other is because my big ideas don't blow your mind, and your big ideas don't blow mine.
Yep.
And they motivate us. Oh shit, that's what you're after? Fuck yeah, how can I support that?
Yeah, totally.
Right. And so because Andy's within arm's reach, I'll ask this question as it pertains to him. What is it like when you meet or evolve alongside someone that you respect so much?
Well, when I thought about this too, is there's kind of two things that happen. Is once you start growing and you hit that exponential curve, you start growing like crazy. So since I met him and we interfaced and we kind of did some business dealings together or whatever, like he's grown 10x from what I have. But it's because he was already on that upper curve. So there's a certain part of it that's like humbling and almost hurtful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to see somebody just take off on a fucking rocket ship while you're still like trying to get into third gear. So that's one part. But the other part is also like I have got to see him change the level of person he is. I think about this a lot too, is like how, like, if you want to create a $2 to $3 million company, you can't be the same person that you were that made the $200,000 to $300,000 company, right? It's like you literally have different skills and mindsets. Like the whole thing kind of changes. And I've seen him kind of go from like this guy to this guy to this guy. Like there was a level when I first met him of like anger almost. And I get that too. It's like you're in the grind every day and you're taking grenades and eating shit. And, you know, it's like you just want to win so bad. And so you're not angry, but it comes off like that. It's aggression.
Yep.
To then seeing him where he is now, where it's a lot more, let me think about that. You know, there's, because you kind of have more, you realize that more of, you're going to accomplish more by thinking through things and planning and organizing and big picture stuff than you are by just the daily fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So both of those, humbling, but then also inspiring to see that, oh, I can change too. Because that's one of the things that I know has held me back. Is like I do think I'm intelligent enough, and I do think I have the ability enough to do things, but I do think sometimes I get too stuck in my own way. Yeah, and I need to evolve. I need to change. I can't be 28-year-old James. I got to be 38-year-old James.
Yeah, you know, a big one for me along the way. Let me know if this resonates. One of the big hurdles for me in leadership and business was accepting the fact that you can't take everybody with you.
Yeah, fuck. That hits hard.
That shit ate me alive for a really, really long time. And I'll never forget. I didn't lose him. He evolved and he did everything that he was supposed to do. My first apprentice. And I was so proud of this kid because I was finishing my master's degree. He was finishing his undergrad and we had a class that overlapped, and I presented some shit about what I was doing professionally. And he chased me down after class, like on the sidewalk, like ran me down and asked for an opportunity. And I was like, well, all right, man, you know, like, here are the things, you know, if all that sounds sexy and you're willing to do the things that I need you to do, let's ride. And dude, he's one of the best coaches I ever had on my team, blah, blah, blah. And we parted ways, and dude, I was so fucking sad about it.
I know.
You know, I was just like,
I don't think a lot of people realize that they think as like a business owner that you're like angry because that person is like not working for you, but that is not it. It's just this morning I had a guy on my podcast and he was an employee for me. I think that you know Carter pretty well.
Yeah.
He's worked for me for 3 or 4 years, and he's now like evolved, and he's, you know, older, and he is moving on to the next career space. So I actually had him on because technically the first is like his last day, and he's moving on to new horizons. And there is one. I would imagine that this is very similar to like your kid going away to college. It's like they're not gone. You know what I mean? Like I'll still see him. We're still boys. Like we're still gonna text talk, but like he's not a part of my team.
Yeah.
And there's no ill will. Like it's like he left because he didn't want to be here. It's like, you know, at some point you just get other opportunities. You can go and do stuff. And but it still hurts. Like it just hurts fucking bad because you want. You know, I say this all the time. Sarah, who is my like She like runs basically everything. She's not running anything right now because she's just had a baby fucking 3 weeks ago. But like, she's the longest relationship I've ever been in. Like, if she left me, that would be the worst thing ever. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
She is
Yeah.
the single longest relationship with one person I've ever had. And so, yeah, imagine how bad a breakup is. Like, Sarah and I spend every day together. We talk all the time. We hang out. Like, her husband and I get along well. When she had a baby, I'm there. Like, she, you know, I found out she was pregnant before she did. Like, we were at the store and we were just talking and she was telling me shit about how she was feeling. And I was like, "You're pregnant." She was like, "No, I'm not." And I was like, go take a fucking test right now. And she did, and she was pregnant. And so it was like,
Wow.
you know, that's the level of like intimacy and connection you have with these people. It's like, when I get off the phone with her, I tell her, I'm like, "Hey, I love you." She's like, "I love you."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, of course, you know, and you don't want that to go away.
Yeah. But you just touched on something, and I think that it's really important to highlight, because I don't think it's celebrated enough in terms of a true demonstration of masculinity, and that is to tell somebody who is unrelated to you, who you know essentially is part of your professional existence, and like, I love you, and it's for some reason, like when I say that to people who don't have my same last name in the beginning, it is fucking off-putting.
Yeah.
They're like, was that a Freudian slip? Did you think you were talking to somebody else? Like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, "No, man, I love you." I tell my whole fucking team all the time, "I love you." We have a one-on-one. They tell me all the things, like, because here's the honest truth, man. When you get out into the world and you separate from your parents, right? Like, it might, what I've come to realize in the mentorship that I've done, it might be fucking years. Think about that. Years before somebody says that to you again. And I think that is tragic.
Yeah. That hits weird. It might be
man.
You hear it again.
Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think that, and we compartment, we're so good as human beings in this day and age at compartmentalizing that we do that with language too. Like, love is exclusive to the word love is exclusive to its romantic utility.
Yeah.
No. Like, I care for you at a human spiritual level. Like, we are connected. And I love you, right? And I watch people like their skin crawls when they hear it. And it's like, dude, men and women, it's like, it's okay.
Isn't it weird? It's like they would be more comfortable if you said, "I hate you."
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would sit with that better than being like, "Hey, I love you."
Mm-hmm.
That is wild.
Think about that, right?
That is wild. How uncomfortable we are with that level of vulnerability.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I don't even care if you say it back.
No, because it doesn't change that I love you.
I need you to know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
That 100%. So, where was I going with that? God,
I don't know. We went out deep road.
Dude, I had to say that out loud. Yeah, it's leadership is tough, man. And when those that you mentor and have led, hit that fork in the road, man. Like, when that happened to me the first time, I was heartbroken. And I remember a good friend of mine, who's operates in the same orbit that you and I do. They can just call it like they see it and be objective about whatever they see in my situation. He's like, "Dude, you are not responsible for what that kid does with his life. That is not up to you. What is up to you is that with the time that you had together, you did the best you could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And,
It's
you know,
fun.
so fast forward, you know, I just got an invitation to his wedding, you know,
Oh wow.
he's crushing it. And I'm just like, all right, okay, cool. You know, and you know, to your point, you know, the good ones find a way to stick around.
Yeah.
You know, they may not, you know, be as, you know, first circle connected anymore, but still, like, dude, I love hearing like how his life has worked out and the things that he's up to and this new lady that he's with and da 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 da. Dude, I genuinely love the fact that he's found his way and that, you know, there was a piece of that journey that we got to share together.
That you were a part of, that you were together on that journey.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Man. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, this got deep. I like
that.
That.
Well, that's what I wanted, and that's what I knew that I would get from you. Real quick, where can the audience find you, celebrate you, gain wisdom from you? Because you got all kinds of stuff out there. You're not just a meathead that sells protein.
Yeah. So really just at the Viking. It's the Viking __. If you put in the Viking, I'll be the first one that comes up. And there's a YouTube channel. So it's the Viking. My show is called Aggressively Balanced. But yeah, it's just all the Viking. We actually, I've been having a really good time creating more content around, like, I don't want to sell anything, but like just telling people how I do stuff. You know, like what are my habits, what are my routines, those things. And I've gotten a kick out of it. You know, I really, I like talking about it, and I think that it's like some valuable stuff. If you know, just nothing else, a new perspective to hear. For sure, man. For sure. Well, hey, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you had to break away from your team to make this happen. And dude, I'm glad you made it back safe, and I'm looking forward to ripping and running with you in 25, man. Dude, absolutely. I will get a hold of you soon, brother. Thank you for this. All right, man. Love you, brother. See you.